Hey, thanks for watching Numbskull News. And today we're going to give a little reaction to the, I guess, final CFP. It's not the final. It's the final before the final CFP ranking. There's one more, of course, after all the conference title games take place, and then they put in who goes where or whatever. So I'm going to give you my reaction, and I got a couple of them. So let's go. My first reaction. Let me deal with this first things first. Okay, it's 1 through 24. I know it's 25. And by the way, before I get started, congratulations to James Madison down here for getting in. Now I'm going to tell you why that's important. You already kind of know, I'm sure. But let me start with this. The 24 team CFP format that has been bandied about for a while, I am a proponent of. Now let me show you right now, before the conference title games and all that, how this would look. All right, because 24 team playoff means the four Power 4 conferences would each get 4 automatic qualifiers. And 2 would go to the CFP. And you would have 6 at large. So let's see what the field would look like here. Let's since they're number 1, let's start with the Big Ten. You'd have really easy Ohio State, Indiana. Come down here just a little bit. You have Oregon, number 3. So who's their 4th team? It is USC is their 4th team. That's 4 teams for the Big Ten right there. Automatic qualifiers. Maybe you don't like USC. Oh, they're 9-3. Shut up and get over it. All right, look at the NFL. You have, a grand total of 8 divisions. And it's the division champ who automatically goes to the playoff, even if the division sucks nuts. And all the teams in the division suck. One year it was Seattle got in under 500. There was another year where I believe it was like a 500 Washington Redskins team from the NFC East that was, that sucked that year, completely sucked that year. And it just so happened, it was basically the tallest midget got in, and that was the Redskins. And they summarily got dismissed in the first round. However, that Seahawks that was sub 500, they beat, I believe, New Orleans that year. I think it was New Orleans they beat that year in the first round, the wild card round. So, look, all I'm saying is there's going to be that kind of stuff will happen. But, this isn't a 2014 playoff video. However, I just wanted to illustrate that, right? So, the Big Ten's weakest team is USC at 9-3. And then the SEC would look great. You got Georgia, you got Ole Miss, you got A&M, you got Oklahoma. That's your top 4. No one's as 10-2 or better. And then you would have the Big 12. You would have Texas Tech. You would have BYU. You would have Utah. And finally, you would have freaking Arizona, 9-3. Now, where this thing would look like crap, kind of like one of those years in the NFL where the division sucks, and that would be the ACC. Sorry, ACC, but that's what it would be. Miami would be the number 1 team there. And then, let's see, Virginia would get in. And Georgia Tech would get in. And then you basically have to go with an unranked team for the 4th team. As sad as that shit is. Let's see here. It wouldn't be Duke at 7-5. It would be Pitt, more than likely, or SMU. All right, so let's just go with Pitt, 8-4. So that's the what the hell are we doing team with a 4 automatic qualifiers. The ACC kind of didn't earn it that year. But however you want to put it, that's their 4th. So it's a little weak on that end, but fine with the rest of the Power Four. Next up, you would get 2 G6 schools in. So let's say the winner of Tulane and North Texas would get in. And if as long as James Madison won their conference title game, they get in. So there's the 2. And of course, this is a year where Notre Dame would get in at 10-2. So that leaves 5 at-larges. So can we figure out 5 at-larges? I think we can. All right. Like we don't even have to go back to the conference standings for this. Alabama would get, that's the 5th team from the SEC. They would get one of those. Let's keep going down here. Texas and Vanderbilt. I don't think anyone's complaining about that. So that's 7 schools for the SEC. 3 at-larges. There's 2 more at-larges. Is there any more SEC schools? There is not. Now we can go over here. Let's just make sure. Let's make sure the SEC gets their fill. No, that's basically 7 schools. Then you get to 8-4. Well, the ACC's got an 8-4 team. Yeah, but do we have any better records than that? Is there a better record in the Big Ten? Yes, there is. There's a Michigan at 9-3. All right, so let's get them in at-large. No problem. There's 5 schools, 5 programs, 5 teams from the Big Ten that can get in there. 7 for the SEC, 5 for the Big Ten. Everyone else is 8-4. So, remember the committee's choosing this. So is there another 9-3? Oh, look at there. There's Houston and Arizona. Well, according to the CFP, Arizona's ranked higher, so we'll go with Arizona. So the Big 12 would get 5. The Big 10 would get 5. The SEC would get 7. Notre Dame, 2 G6s. It's beautiful. You only had to deviate from this list to include Pitt at 8-4 because, unfortunately, the ACC just doesn't have enough quality teams, or at least what would you consider to say? They don't have enough playoff-worthy teams. So that's the bad division this year. However, I would still say in a 2014 playoff, yeah, I don't mind Virginia being in at 10-2. I think that's earned. No problem. Georgia Tech at 9-3. It's a little soft. We understand that. Texas is also 9-3. Oh, but they played a whole hell of a lot more better teams. Okay. Georgia Tech. I'm still saying playoff worthy. Iowa at 8-4. I don't know why they're in there. I wouldn't put Iowa in there. Now, if you want to switch out Iowa for Pitt, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But like I said, it's 4 automatic qualifiers. So you're going to have those kind of games, those kind of teams that get in sometimes. But as I just showed you, there's one 8-4 team. Everybody else, there's a couple of 9-3s, mostly 10 all the 10-2s get in, 11-1s, and of course the undefeateds, they all get in. And it's all pretty much, everyone's pretty much worthy to get in. Outside of Pitt, which I don't consider them worthy, a playoff worthy team, but it's just one of those years. That's one, guys. So I just wanted to break that down for you. And that's my first point. My next point I wanted to get to is James Madison. They put James Madison in. They have, the CFP committee itself has denied entrance to James Madison for the entire run here until this last, the final of the regular season, the final ranking of the regular season. And there's a reason they're doing that. Because if Duke wins the ACC, if they beat Virginia, James Madison's going in. Because Duke's not ranked. Duke ain't even close to being ranked. But they went ahead and ranked James Madison. What they're telling the ACC, Virginia better win. Because if it's Duke, guess what? There will be no ACC teams in the playoffs. And I know what you're saying. Well, they can still jump Miami up there above Notre Dame. They're not going to. They're not going to. Miami has no more games to play. Notre Dame has no more games to play. I don't care if Alabama loses, if BYU loses. Doesn't matter. Miami's not going up. They're not going to do that. You watch this committee. If Alabama loses, Georgia loses, that definitely screws Miami. But let's just say Alabama loses. Miami's not getting in, folks. 10-2 for the second year, not getting in. So I guess that was a second point with Miami and Notre Dame. All that consternation. Oh, what about the head-to-head? I'm so sick of hearing about the head-to-head with those two. Because who did Miami lose to? Who did Miami lose to? Well, when I look down here, the teams they lost to are not ranked. As a matter of fact, they're 8-4 teams. Which, was it SMU and Louisville? Not bad teams. Not bad at all. But 8-4 compared to, Notre Dame lost to a 10-2 team. And they lost to a one-loss A&M team. Yeah. And look, I get it. I get what you're saying. A lot of people, well, the eye test, no. The record has to count for something. They have a tied record. Notre Dame has better losses than Miami does. Miami, their wins, they are better. Notre Dame has USC and a bunch of okay. So learn to love it, guys. There's a lot of people that think Miami's going to jump Notre Dame somehow, some way in the next ranking, in the final ranking. I don't know how they do that when neither one of them have a game to play. I don't. Now, this is what they did do, though. You notice Alabama was 10 last week. Notre Dame was 9. They moved Alabama up. A lot of people have talked about that. For all of the bitching I have heard from SEC people, oh, I don't know if Oklahoma's going to get in or Alabama's going to get in. They're 8-9. They're in. Alabama, as long as they beat Georgia, they're in automatically. But now that they moved them above Notre Dame, even if they lose to Georgia, they won't go below 10. Alabama was in danger of being knocked out of the playoff if BYU won. BYU beats Texas Tech, because Texas Tech will not drop out of the top 10. They may drop down to 8 or 9, but they're not going to drop below that. BYU would be moved up. Look, Alabama barely beat Auburn. Notre Dame beat the hell out of Stanford. Neither one of those warrants any movement at all. But what the playoff committee did was say, you know what? If BYU beats Texas Tech and wins the Big 12 and gets that automatic berth into the playoff, and Tech is still in there, the Big 12 get 2 teams, Notre Dame is going to come out of the playoffs. It's not going to be Alabama. So SEC people, stop bitching. Stop trying to play the victim role. You are not a victim at all. You are going to be given every opportunity to get as many teams in this bitch every year. It doesn't matter if it's 12, 14, 16, 24, your mom's asshole. Does not matter. The playoff committee, ESPN, Disney, everybody else is going to try to cram as many SEC teams in this bitch as they could possibly get. Well, what about last year? Last year, you had 3 teams that were 10-2 or better. Everybody else had horrific losses. Had 3 losses on the year. Alabama being one of them, South Carolina being another one. Who else? Ole Miss. So kiss my ass. You didn't have enough playoff worthy teams last year. This year, done a hell of a lot better. And the playoff committee just basically told everybody that the SEC is getting 5 schools in. They don't give a shit. It's going to be 5. And if they have to knock somebody out to put BYU and Tech in, it's going to be Notre Dame that gets knocked out. So for every Miami fan that has this dream that thinks maybe you can move up there, all these other prognosticators online that think Miami has a chance to jump Notre Dame, they're not. They're at 12. They're out of bullets. They're out of ammo. It's done. The only team that can knock Notre Dame out of the playoff is BYU. That's it. Well, if you want to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, all that, the top 4, no problem with. Oregon, no problem with. Ole Miss, I am kind of surprised they moved Ole Miss up. I was a little surprised they moved them up. Remember FSU a couple of years ago, because the quarterback was hurt, they didn't put him in the playoffs. 0 losses. Power 4 conference champion, couldn't get in the playoff, albeit it was a 4-team playoff. Not big enough. Now it is. Now it is big enough, but still, you would think maybe Ole Miss, they start dragging down since, Lane Kiffin's gone. The douchebag Lane Kiffin has abandoned his freaking playoff team to take some other job. And he's taken coaches with him. I think the offensive coaching staff has went with him. So Ole Miss is kind of screwed. But, they're keeping him in there. It wouldn't shock me to see them move them out, but I don't. They just moved them up. I don't think they're going to move them out. I think they're there. So 5 for the SEC is now a lock. Even if Alabama loses, they're not going to drop out. They're not going to get dropped out. Let's put it that way. What if Alabama gets their doors blown off? 40-0. Maybe you might have a worry, but still, even then, I don't know if this committee will knock out Alabama. But I think pretty much everything is right. The BYU thing, it still pisses me off. I still think BYU should be 10. I think they should be 10. And look, if they get blown out by Texas Tech again and BYU was at 10, you can move up Notre Dame. You can move up Miami. You can do those things and not have to explain it that much. Everyone would just accept it. I'd be pissed off still, but, don't get blown out for a second time. Neutral site, Arlington, Texas. Don't get blown out, BYU. But as it is right now, what you're basically telling BYU, who has a better record than Notre Dame, better strength of schedule than Notre Dame, why are we all the way down here at 11? All right, the other closest team is Texas A&M. Texas A&M is at 7. Ole Miss, 1 loss, is at 6. I mean, look at this shit. All the way up to Georgia. Oh, but they don't have the brand of Georgia. They lost to Tech. Don't have the brand of an Oregon. Ole Miss is not any higher of a brand than BYU. And Coach Satake has decided to stay. He doesn't need to go to Penn State and get fired in 4 or 5 years. No, he's got a lifetime job at BYU as long as he ever wants it. Lane, freaking idiot. Anyway, but that's the only ridiculous part to me. BYU getting shit on like that. But well, you know what? One more thing, and I'm gonna let y'all go. Utah going down to 15. What in the absolute F was that? 15. 15. They started out at 12. Actually, they started out at 13. They moved up to 12. Then Miami got to jump them for I don't know why. That was bullshit. Miami jumping Utah. I'm sorry, Utah would whoop Miami's ass. I think Utah could beat Texas. Texas is a hell of a team. Dude, Utah could beat a lot of these teams up here. Don't think Alabama's some badass rough shot thing. I used to think so. I don't anymore. I've seen enough of their games. I've seen Utah's games. I think Utah would give Alabama a run. I think they could beat Utah. I'm sorry. I think Utah could beat Oklahoma. I think they could beat A&M. Probably couldn't beat Texas Tech. All right, but Utah could beat a lot of these. They can go toe-to-toe with a lot of these teams. And you got them down at 15. You can say the same thing for Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt can give them a hell of a run. I know they can. I know Vanderbilt can. Texas, I don't know. They got the defense. I don't know if they got a quarterback. I don't know if they got the offense. You say the same thing about Oklahoma, but hell, they went into Tuscaloosa, got that win. With their schedule, I didn't think Oklahoma, all apologies to the Sooner faithful from yours truly. I did not think Oklahoma had it in them to go 10-2. I'll be damned. That's the most impressive 10-2 I have seen in a long time. Oklahoma. As a matter of fact, I might be willing to put Oklahoma at number 6 and move everybody else down one. I think Oklahoma deserves that. I know it was 11-1. Kiss my ass. I would put Alabama. I'd put them above Oregon too. I'd put them at, you know what? Yeah. Oklahoma deserves to be at 5. That's a damn impressive 10-2. Just bear with me for a minute, because I gotta say this about Oklahoma. Because I've given them shit. I've made videos talking about them being the next Nebraska and all that. That story isn't done. It isn't written yet, but let's go up here. All right. They beat Michigan 24-13. That's a pretty damn salty win. What's the next good one? They kind of got drilled by Texas. Okay. They kind of got beat by Ole Miss a little bit at home. That's not great. Tennessee, that, like I said, Alabama, that's a hell of a damn win. Missouri, I didn't know if they could do that. They did it. LSU, everyone wants to talk like LSU's trash. They're 7-5. They're not what they want to be. They're not where they typically are. I thought LSU was going to be a hell of a lot better than that this year. But they're 7-5. It's not bad. That's still a pretty good team that can beat a lot of teams any given damn day. And Oklahoma got the win. Like I said, when that year started, I saw this stretch from starting with basically Oklahoma on down, and I was like, y'all are screwed. Or sorry, starting with Ole Miss on down, I thought y'all were screwed. Now, South Carolina turned out to be a big pile of dog crap this year. I thought they were going to be way better, just based off of last year. But yeah, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's the truth this year, man. Oklahoma is damn good. And don't count them out in the playoffs. Let's see what the draw is. Who do they got to play? Just to reiterate, to me, the good stuff is definitely the top 4, maybe top 5, hell, maybe top 6 or 7. As a lot of that is good. That I think is fine, perfectly fair. The bad is where BYU and Notre Dame is. BYU should have been 10 this whole time. Even ahead of Alabama. I don't give a damn. They should have been up there. Another part of the good is James Madison getting in and them setting the whole thing up where Virginia, it's up to Virginia to get the ACC into the playoff. That's the way it should be. The ugly of this whole thing, I don't know why Iowa deserves to be there other than they're just a Big Ten team. Look, all apologies to Iowa, but they have shit the bed the last several weeks. I'm sorry. Get them the hell out of there. Find another team. Shit. Find anybody. That part's ugly. The Utah thing's ugly to me. Dropping Utah down like that when there's just really no reason for it. We're going to throw Vanderbilt above Utah because they beat Tennessee. And Tennessee ain't shit. I know Vanderbilt is good. But that sucks. Utah being 15 is bullshit. They have done nothing but drop since the beginning of the CFP rankings this year. And they've not lost a game. They've been tearing ass, beating the hell out of people. I know Kansas State was close. But good Lord, do a little research on who Kansas State is. That ain't some bullshit opponent. I know their record looks like crap, but that's not a crap team. Just like LSU. They're not dog crap. It's a freaking bowl team. They're just not as good as we thought. And Kansas State isn't as good as we thought in the Big 12. They have underperformed. But they still have the talent. They can step up and play real tough football. And that's what they did. But you can't count on anyone in this committee knowing this shit. They don't watch the games. Well, how can they? There's dozens of games every freaking week. Which is part of the problem with relying on a committee in the first place. Anyway, that's my reaction. Thanks for watching this crap. I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.